Greetings YouTube, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to record this video and discuss the topic that I've received. Like sometimes I receive pushback on a video and I think, okay, that makes sense, But then I received a lot of pushback in how I called this a game changer because, to a certain extent I get it. Most of the time these daily crystals are just not a game changer. They're going to give you, even for Paragon players, half a tier 2 alpha, half a tier 5 basic, maybe a tier 4 basic, maybe a tier 4 class catalyst. I would still say, though, even with those items, free is free. And I don't think in life or in this game you should complain about free. I just don't think that is a good move because beggars can't be choosers, and this is free. But the biggest question that I have, like by far the biggest question, is why now? Why now? Why are they doing this now in October? Well, it's funny. We have seen in late September, early October, essentially the same playbook, but this was when Cavalier was the best progression. So this was around October. I want to say we had this like back-to-back event. We had last year, of course, we had essentially two things happen. The community got super ticked because we didn't have the trade-in event that we had 2 years ago. But 2 to 3 years ago, around the fall, was when Kabam announced, hey, Thronebreaker is going to be a progression title that we're going to introduce right before Cyber Weekend. And then, of course, that bolstered the first ever Thronebreaker sales. But most importantly, let's say that they do 3 rank 3 7 stars as the new progression title. Let's just assume that's going to be it. I think that logically makes the most sense. I've heard some people say it's also going to include ranked up relics, and my goodness, I hope that's not true. I would push so hard against that because relics are great as a bonus to the game, and I see the value most of all to linking combos, and that's really helped, especially in difficult game modes like Battlegrounds. But in general, I am not spending money, and I'm certainly not spending units on relics. If you give them to me as a bonus in an offer that I already care about because of the other non-relic things in it, sure, I'll include it, but I'm not going to buy something and invest in something in this game just because it has relics attached to it, even if it's 6-star relics, which Kabam is still trying to make really rare and valuable in the economy of the game. But in general, I believe that Kabam wants us to do something big this year, and that big involves our wallet, because even though they called the Caps Commissary event a quote-unquote smaller event, they asked people to potentially spend way more units on it, like way more units on it than we had traditionally for July 4th week or Cyber Week, which made no sense to me. But regardless, we already know from July 4th between the Kabam online store and the in-game store that Kabam wants us to spend a record amount of money on this game. Now, I'm sure inflation has affected them too. I am sure that they're putting out a lot of these cash offers. Like people have been asking me, Prof, where are the unit offers? Well, they aren't coming out with them nearly as much. It used to be like 3-to-1. Now it feels like it's 10-to-1. In terms of how many cash offers they're going to give versus units, because they know that unit offers can be achieved by free-to-play players and low spenders and people like myself who are somewhat good at hoarding units. And unless they want us to empty out those units so we have more motivation to buy units before something like Cyber Week, they're just not going to give us that many opportunities to use our units to purchase items without spending cash. So I think they want us to get used to going to the online store and then purchasing the daily crystals so that we are practicing that habit for when the new progression title hits. And I actually, like, let's say I have to spend hundreds of dollars to get rank 3 7-star. They're not going to be generics. Chances are they'll be rank up crystals. But let's say that I can become the next title. We'll just say, for the sake of arguments, the classic wallet breaker title after Paragon to get the best offers. Well, All I'm going to say to that is if you've given me the motivation to buy the best Paragon offers and the best Wallet Breaker offers, then that's actually giving me more incentive to spend. And so it's kind of a genius idea to get Kabam practicing that. And then these new daily crystals that we were going to get 2 of, assuming they do the same format, which again, I don't know why they wouldn't. They're kind of trying to train us to start that now, would have a 1% drop rate or less, depending on what you believe, since they're not publicly posted, to get a 7-star, a free 7-star. And a free 7-star and a crystal is going to have value for a long time. And so if you can get 2 dailies with a 1% drop rate for a 7-star, you're going to be getting people who the rich are going to get richer. They're going to have free 7-stars, and they'll get about 1 out of every 100. And that's 1 out of every 50 days. Because if you get 2 crystals per day, that's going to cut down half the time it normally takes to get a free champion in those. So I think there's a method to Kabam's madness. I think they're going to give us new progression titles soon. And they're going to want us to practice claiming the daily crystal twice a day, 1 in their store and 1 in the game. And I'm all about it, for the record. I think that's a great idea. But that's why people might be like, Prof, why are you hyping these up? Well, there's a bigger plan in mind. It's not just for daily Paragons. It's for daily whatever the heck we're calling the next progression is. And I think this is a sign of things to come. In a good way, you know? I want to praise Kabam because these are free. And I know getting there is not free, especially at the beginning when you have to spend cash to get to the next progression level. But eventually, there'll be a lot more free 7-stars and in daily crystals. And that's a huge W.